Hey guys, welcome to yet another video. I think this is the second to last video for this batch for this week. Once again, thanks for tuning in. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So this one is these creatures, or the doodle that I did, was originally called the Blind Behemoths. But obviously their character style and design really haven't changed much, but their backstories definitely have. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the original doodle. So yeah, again, just kind of basic. And again, these guys are kind of very similar. Well, and to be honest, these guys are villains, and they tie very closely in with the tectonic titans as well as the dark demons. But again, these are guys. These would be kind of just the cannon fodder that I discussed in the dark demon. You know, just the basic monster thug that superheroes can beat up on in mass numbers. But yeah, here's the original doodle. So let's go ahead and get into the redesign here. And I also changed their names. So they went from the Blind Behemoths to the Devoidians. And their names, I changed their names to that because it kind of really drives home a little more closely to their backstory in the fact that they lack a soul. And, you know, that kind of goes into the backstory that I had with the other character design with the Dark Demon. You know, removing the eyes kind of communicates a lack of a soul. You know, there's that quote that the eyes are the gateway to the soul, and if you have no eyes, there must be no soul. So, but yeah, the overall design and everything is very, very similar to the design of the Blind Behemoths. I rotated the mouths a little bit because a vertical mouth kind of is a bit more on the uneasy side because it's out of the realm of familiarity that a lot of people have. You know, for most of us, a mouth runs horizontally. You know, in nature, most mouths run horizontally. You know, insects and crabs and stuff like that, you know, tend to gross humans out, but you look at their mouths and they sometimes run vertically. So I really wanted to incorporate some uneasiness into the character design, and I think moving the mouth to more vertical positioning, I think was a better choice. And then again, the colors that I've chosen were very reminiscent of the Dark Demons, just kind of a cool, uninviting aesthetic that I wanted to bring to this overall color design. And again, the Devoidians that you see here are actually what possessed the humans in the Dream Eater's dimension and created them into the Dark Demons. And so, in essence, this is kind of the original form of the Dark Demons. You know, Dark Demons being kind of an amalgamation of both Devoidians and humans. So, but let's take a look here at the final illustration. So here's the final illustration for the Devoidians. Yeah, and then as you can see here, one of the other design aesthetics that I changed also was incorporating kind of this fleshy undertone under like this rockier, thicker hide. And so you can see I've kind of incorporated that with kind of a juicy, magenta looking undertone, fleshy look. So just to kind of give them a bit of an uneasy, you know, kind of that same aesthetic as like when your hands get really dried and your fingers get cracked and there's that fleshy under flesh that you can see in these deep crevices of your dry skin. So just kind of wanted to incorporate that into the overall character design. So, but let's get into their backstories. So a Devoidian. These creatures are merely small appendages of a far greater and more malevolent evil, chaos itself. It is said that in the beginning there was nothing, and from our perspective, this is true. But from another, deeper perspective, there was chaos, the equal and eternal opposite to order, life, will, and light. The purpose of this primordial force is singular, to destroy, extinguish, and devour all existence. In the dawn of creation, God forged the universe from the fragments of chaos, bringing forth order, light, life, and will, where none existed before. In the first eons of existence, chaos hungered, and now, finally, it had something to feed upon. It waged endless war against God, but failed each time, losing more of itself to order with every defeat. These losses fractured chaos, giving birth to new worlds, dimensions, and multiverses. Now chaos can no longer freely feed. It relies on worshippers and avatars among the living creatures in this organized realm to open portals into our realm so that it may feed once more. At times, these portals succeeded, but never fully. Only fragments of its essence, its avatars, can cross through. Beings such as the Devoidians and the tectonic titans. So once again, the Devoidians are just kind of these smaller appendages or avatars that this entity called chaos can intercede into our universe. Like it said here in the very beginning, it tried to just invade this universe, which is an organized, orderly creation. It tried to just enter it by the force of just its own will, but it would always fail because God would come in defense of his creation and cut tentacles or appendages off of it, and these appendages would then be utilized as materials to create other worlds or other multiverses or whatever. So, but yeah, these Devoidians in and of themselves are just these small little appendages of chaos that come and invade our universe in an effort to create a bigger portal so that the big version of itself could invade. But so its real name, it has no real name. These creatures range from 10 to 15 feet tall and weigh about 1,000 to a little over 2,000 pounds. So their powers and abilities are very similar to those of the dark demons, which makes sense as the Dream Eater, their creator, once stated that these demons were once men, corrupted and remade by chaos. So once again, like I had said, what happened is the Dream Eater would take these Devoidians and infuse them with, people in his universe or realm or whatever, and would create these dark demons. So, with that in mind, we can surmise that they possess immense strength and durability. Also, like the much larger tectonic titans, they can emit devastating energy beams, from their mouths, either as forms of defense or as means to consume. It also appears that they have the ability to possess and control other beings if given the opportunity. So, like I had mentioned with the Dream Eater guy, these things are capable of possessing other entities. But they can only possess if given an invitation or if their people that they're trying to possess offer up little resistance to the possession. So again, super strong creatures, super durable. They're not very fast. They're nearly zero intelligence. They do have the ability to, like I said, emit these powerful beams out of their mouths. So they do have the ability of energy projection. And then again, they can do this for, they can battle or feed or whatever for quite some time. They've got quite a bit of stamina as well. So, but yeah, that is the Devoidians. Once again, kind of tying in the dark demons, the tectonic titans, and all of that into these Devoidians and their overall arching enemy, which is, not enemy, but creator or master or whatever, which is chaos. So, but anywho, that is the Devoidians. Again, their character design didn't change much, but their backstory did a lot. I mean, it's not like, again, they didn't have much of a backstory to begin with. They didn't really have any at all. And so now that after 11 years of pondering over these sketches and stuff, I've been able to develop some of these cool backstories for them. So, but anyway, yeah, that's the Devoidian, and we'll catch you for the next video tomorrow.